So I was planning on doing a video based on what I thought Manchester United should have done with the manager situation at the start of the summer, but then I remembered that I did actually put a video out at the time, which was fairly unpopular, and I think it has been since taken down for copyright. And so rather than just purely talking in hindsight, I thought I'd re-upload the video from the start of the summer. So if you are new to the channel, you'll be able to see exactly what I was saying at the time, and you can ask me some questions if you want me to clarify any points in a future video. So a quick disclaimer, this is what I would do if I was director of football at Manchester United. Obviously Ineos aren't going to do this. So what I'd do is I'd go straight to Antonio Conte while he's still beefing with De Laurentiis over transfer demands, and before he agrees anything with Juve, put a 2-year contract on the table, a salary of £10 million, which is what he's currently on at Napoli, plus £5 million in bonuses for Champions League qualification, as well as winning the title. Present him with a plan of selling between 150 and 180 million pounds worth of players that I've talked about in previous videos, potentially also selling Bruno Fernandes and probably also Garnacho now for around 180 million pounds combined. And then we'll tell him we'll get his main targets if they're under the age of 28 and not overpriced financially, obviously, and anyone who is older would have to have a low enough fee and salary to make it financially viable for us to sign him. Now the hardest part would be to convince Antonio Conte to join over Juventus, so just for the sake of this full experiment, just assume that for now. But if United were serious, which they aren't, I think we would actually be able to get him, and so in this video I'm going to explain why, if possible, Conte would be exactly what United need, explaining how he was able to take Chelsea from 10th to the title in just one season, and showing you how the squad doesn't actually look that bad with a change of system. Well, before I get into that, if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to okjersey.com. They've got the new Manchester United releases for the upcoming season, with OK Jersey also allowing you to pick up high quality football shirts from just £15, plus free shipping across Europe for all orders over £45. They sent me over these new release alternative Manchester United jerseys from this season, as well as a long-sleeved retro home shirt from the 92-93 season, with Cantona 7 on the back, alongside this Nuno Gomes Benfica shirt from the 97-98 season as well. If you use code ATLANTIS at checkout, you'll get a discount, so I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comments section below. So if Antonio Conte took over this Manchester United squad with no new signings, I don't even think that we actually look that bad if you assume that we replace Onana and Højlund, which we probably will do anyway, or should do. You've got a 4-2-3-1 system, for example, with De Ligt and Euro as centre-backs, until Martinez returns from injury, Mazraoui or Dalot as the right-back, Dorgu or maybe a new signing at left-back, Ugarte and Mainu in central midfield, Casemiro could be there as well if he stays, Bruno Fernandes ahead in his best role, Ahmad on the right as a natural winger, Cunha to the left playing more of an interior forward role, moving in field rather than holding his width, and Xerxes playing up front. Garnacho if he was to stay and Mount are also good alternatives, and that's without any key signings. So my thought process is that you can still think Ruben Amorim as a top level coach and completely write off the last 6 months if you want to, but objectively if someone asked you if this group of players suits a 3-4-3, the answer would have to be no, because when you look throughout the squad, who actually suits Ruben Amorim's 3-4-3 better than any other system, let alone the number of players who don't really suit any role in the system at all. Bruno, Mainu, Xerxes, Ugarte, Garnacho, Dorgu, Dalot, Casemiro, Martinez when he returns, in my opinion are all square pegs in round holes for the roles that they would have to play in Amorim's system. Even Ahmad, who I do think could develop into a fantastic right wing back, would be better as a right winger in a back four system. The only player who I'd really say suits a 3-4-3 more than any other system is Matheus Cunha, who we look like we're about to sign, and maybe also Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw and Mason Mount, but that's really it. And so by keeping Amorim, you're essentially supporting this very specific system because he isn't going to change, whereas with Conte you don't have to put your faith in one specific system, and you also don't have to sign and sell as many players. And the players you do sign don't require this very specific skill set for the role that Amorim would want them to play, and so that does give you a lot more transfer options in each position to sign. So rather than thinking of it as keeping or sacking a manager, ask yourself if Amorim was signed only on an interim basis, or even if he had stayed at Sporting for the rest of the season, would he be the ideal candidate as head coach considering the group of players we currently have, as well as our financial limitations? See, when you look at the system that he uses, alongside the fact that he's not going to change even slightly or make any adaptations, and then you look at our current squad and what we'd need to do in the summer, I can't see how you could say that if Amorim was Sporting manager still, that he would be a better option than Conte, if we could get him, of course. If you stick with Amorim, you're going to have to spend £250 to £350 million, depending on who gets sold, to then reinvest in players specifically for Amorim's system, not fully confident that the system won't prove to be an issue next season or further down the line, even with the money spent on new signings, with the downside being if we do have to sack Amorim because things aren't working out, now we've wasted another year, likely going to miss out on Champions League football again, alongside expensive investments whose value has dropped to lower than what we paid for them, and don't suit the next manager's system, leading to us having to sell maybe at a loss to then finance another rebuild. For me, backing Amorim is a massive risk, because not only do we need to sign at least 7 or 8 players, but we may need to pay high transfer fees in order to get high quality players with the specific skill set that we need, whereas Conte's tactical versatility means that he's going to come in and look at what system is best for the current squad, and then identify the key positions to improve. I don't know about you, but I trust Conte's ability to identify players when he needs to create a successful team, far more than either Ineos or Amorim's ability, both in terms of quality and profile. Conte isn't married to one particular system, and is capable of changing his style and system, season to season, game to game, and even during a game as well. I don't see how you can classify a coach as being of the elite level when they're only able to use one specific system. I mean, let's be real, this isn't some sort of ancient system given to man by God. If Amorim gets every player he wants in the summer, 8 or 9 new starters, but we don't end up getting a high-level ball-playing centre-back like Leonardo Balerdi, for example, are we still going to struggle to play out of pressure in the build-up phase, because for some reason it has to be the central centre-back that is the player to push to the edge of the box in this phase of play. For some reason it can't be anyone else, and the other thing with this system as well is at least one, ideally both of the midfield double pivot, have to essentially be as complete as you can get, both in and out of possession, as well as physically and athletically. I mean, even if we have exactly the same individual quality in the squad as Liverpool, Arsenal and City, I'm still not even sure that Amorim's brand of the 3-4-3 is good enough consistently over the course of a season to get to 85-90 points, which is what you're going to need at least to win the title. Now, is Conte a manager for the long term? No, but I'd rather have a short-term manager who wins, or at least challenges for the title, rather than a long-term manager who needs 10 to 15 new players, 400 to 500 million pounds spent, 2 full seasons, a couple of finishes outside the top 5, to then maybe not even get anywhere near a title, and eventually get sacked in his 3rd or 4th season in the bottom half of the table come November. Being able to move focus away from the short term in order to prioritise the long term is a luxury that United can't afford. City, Liverpool and Arsenal can do that, but sitting in 16th with not even 39 points, we definitely can't afford to do that. We need to focus on the next 2 seasons, at least getting back into the Champions League for a start, before we start fantasising about winning the league in 3 or 4 years' time. We may win a league in that time, but if we carry on like this, it's more likely to be the Championship title than it is the Premier League. See, the reality is Conte has always been the coach that United should have gone for, but it was his arrogance around United that thought that Conte's style and his character wasn't what Manchester United was about, and we're smart people and we prioritise the long term. Just sign a manager and build a squad to be as good as possible in the short term, and if it doesn't work out you can just get another manager and do it again. What the fuck is the point in saying you're planning to win the title in 4 years? All that means is that you can waste the first 2 and then hopefully recover it in the last 2. But Conte wouldn't want to come to Manchester United. I mean, he probably would, he went to Spurs. Conte would love Manchester United, I think. First of all, literally anything he does is going to be an improvement. Second of all, not only would he probably get a bigger salary than he would at either Napoli or Juventus, but United's probably the biggest club that he's going to go to next. Third, it's Manchester United and also the Premier League, and if Conte is able to replicate what he's done at previous clubs, or even just get United back into the Champions League, he's going to be considered a success, potentially even a legend. Fourth, if Ruben Amorim was to get sacked and replaced with Conte, Conte has all the leverage over the board and recruitment team when it comes to transfers. because the board literally caved to the online fan base's demands, let alone a proven serial winner like Conte. And fifth, given the amount of players that we can sell this summer, the budget is going to be far higher than the reported £170 million that Conte is demanding for transfers at Napoli. I think Conte would be interested as long as Ineos were to match his ambition, which they probably won't as they couldn't even match Inzaghi's ambition. But as I said, I am assuming that I am the director of football in this made-up scenario and not one of them. I'd sign Conte on a 2-year deal with a break clause at the end of the first season if he doesn't get top 4, with reduced or maybe even hopefully no compensation, or even if he himself wants to leave instead. Is he going to last longer than 2 seasons? Probably not. Could it implode dramatically at some point? You'd have to say yes. Is Conte going to end up raging at the board publicly? Almost certainly. But the reality is Conte is as proven as you can get and also specialises domestically, particularly when he hasn't got European competitions as a distraction, and has shown that he can transform sides significantly in a short period of time, which is exactly what United need, because at the moment, unless we completely rebuild the squad in the summer, I really can't see us getting top 4 or top 5 in the Premier League with Amorim next season. The only reason people are so desperate to keep him is because there aren't too many obvious replacements. They feel a weird sense of obsessive loyalty to whoever the Manchester United manager is for some reason, as though they aren't getting paid millions and consistently underperforming, or they're experiencing memory loss and forgetting that we had this exact same scenario last season, which has led to the majority of our problems going into this summer. I would say just pay the money for Conte. You may not even have to pay Napoli to get him because I think he has some clause in his contract where he can walk away. Sign the 4 or 5 key players that he wants, within reason obviously, and I guarantee that not only are you more likely to win the title by 2028, but you also end up spending a lot less money than if you are going to take the risk and completely rebuild the squad for Amorim this summer. So let me know what you think. If Conte was available, would you go for him or stick with Amorim? And if you do want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to okjersey.com. You can use code Atlantis at checkout for a 10% discount. I'll leave a link in the description and in the comments section below.